The potential of a big red wave in the 2022 midterm elections if the party does not find its way and reset its message after all that defund the police nonsense that was, made so public by the Squad. House Democrats campaign chief warning behind closed doors that if the midterms were held today, Republicans would win the majority in Congress. One Democrat who attended the meeting told Politico, quote, "The polling looked pretty dismal to me." What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Well, we are still a very long way away from 2022.
So do you think, like Jesse does, don't jinx it?
Yes, Jesse does not want to jinx it. But I will say that in 2020, Republicans came a lot closer to winning the House than everybody thought that they would, or most people anyway. So there's a very slim majority with Democrats. I think the slimmest majorities in decades in the House for Nancy Pelosi. And regardless of that, they've tried to push through a lot of really far left-wing ideas, and also in the Senate being 50-50, they've taken advantage of that. Now, when it comes to what the issues are, inflation obviously is a big one. Crime is up. When you have 42% of people saying that they don't think that that Democrats can't be trusted on the economy, that's a big problem for Democrats given these factors. And when you're talking about what people's livelihoods and crime, and Democrats not being trusted with that at all and defunding the police and having to kind of crawl back from going in on the deep end with activists who are totally on board with defunding the police, that's going to be a hard message for them to get over. So, yeah, they got to work on it.
There are also, within the Democratic Party, even because they're so liberal and everything else, people have a false impression, I think, within, for instance, in the Hispanic community. As in the African-American community, there's a lot, bless you, there's a lot of conservatism, conservatism, whatever it is. A lot of conservative people within these liberal groups. One issue, which is pretty local, is about Israel and, support for Israel. The Squad, because in many ways, I agree with them about the Palestinians being even-handed and so forth, but the Jewish community is very, very suspicious. Like in Cleveland, we just had an election for the ages. I think it broke all the records in terms of the money that was spent on the election. Shontel Brown, the Joe Biden Democrat, against Nina Turner, the surrogate for Bernie Sanders. So there was this clash, but Nina Turner had in the past said things about Israel that called into question her loyalty to Israel. Shontel Brown went to Israel a couple of years ago and supported the Jewish state, with great emphasis. Anyway, yesterday was the election. Tuesday was the election.
Longest question ever.
The turnout was very low, 13% or so. The Jewish turnout was more than double that. Don't these issues count, and don't the Democrats have to remember who their constituents are?
They do, Geraldo.
Do you remember the question?
No. Joe Biden has a messaging problem and a management problem. The message was during the campaign, we have to defeat the virus and then the economy will recover. We have defeated the virus and the economy is recovering, but Joe Biden's acting like none of those things are true. He's acting like we haven't beaten the virus. He's hyping up Delta. We're back and forth on masks. And, I don't know, are we going to open the schools, Geraldo? And then on the economy, if the economy's so great, like he's bragging about, then why are we giving more free rent to people? Or why are we spending trillions more in stimulus?
That's very popular.
And all of the so-called wage gains that are happening are offset by high gas prices and inflation. But the management also is terrible. On the border and in inner cities, Democrats control both, and we have a border crisis and a crime wave. And Black Americans don't like that. Hispanic Americans don't like that. Suburban women don't like that. White males. That's unpopular across the board. And when you throw critical race theory into that mix, that is an uphill climb.
Dana, Jesse didn't answer my question.
I don't even remember the question.
What about the importance of remembering your constituencies? And isn't the fear of the Squad's radicalism and lack of loyalty to groups like the Jewish Americans, isn't that a...
Sure, I'll just concede.
Thank you.
That is an important point, and then I'll make another one. And I think that the Democrats really do benefit from having Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney as the head of their congressional arm for this cycle, because he's at least willing to tell them the hard truth. And he did the polling, he put it out there, they leaked it out, and so it's like everybody on notice that this nonsense could cost us the majority. And he wanted everybody to know that. On top of that, President Biden's numbers have gone down in the Quinnipiac poll that just came out today. In May, he was at 49% approval. Today, August 4th, he's at 46%. That's about where President Trump was. So he's lost quite a bit of ground on that front. And so the president who is in power in his first midterm, in the first term, usually loses seats. The Republicans have 3 other things going for them. Redistricting, that's probably going to give them 5 to 6 seats. Recruiting, the excellent recruiting, and Kevin McCarthy puts a lot of emphasis on that, and fundraising. Nobody's going to be short of money. My last point is this. The Republicans now have yet another issue, because what the Biden administration did yesterday to landlords all across the country that own 23 million rental housing units all across the country just found out that they were going to get screwed again. So, and they can't get the help that the federal government gave out because the states don't know how to get it to them. So there's an opportunity there if the Republicans can figure out a way to message to them and to get to them, they might be able to get those votes too.
Republicans, still influenced in a very profound way by President Trump in southern part of Ohio. A guy named Mike Carey, who was a lobbyist, Greg, for the coal industry, was one of many candidates. I can't even remember.
11.
Trump did 11 candidates. Trump went down there, did a rally, and the guy that Trump anointed won, so he still has some potency.
Yeah, there you go. I predicted that yesterday on the show. For those of you who didn't watch, you'll never be able to prove that. Party out of power always comes on strong, right? Yeah. There's always red waves and blue waves, whatnot, but the red wave is based on the crime wave. It's based on the wave of CRT and other denigrating education trends, and the wave of class warfare that we're seeing as well with this landlord stuff. And
the border.
Spending wave, too.
The spending
That's a
wave.
big deal.
There's a lot of waves. The red wave can only happen, though, if Americans pull themselves out of this deep rabbit hole called the smartphone. Because I really do believe the excesses of the left took hold because we were ambivalent and distracted by so many things, that everything that we hate, and we should hate, in hardcore left politics, has it been able to sneak in right under our noses because our nose was too busy in this.
But you got to show up. If you don't show up, then there's no wave.
There's no wave.
Little ripple.
Wave it goodbye.
Wave it goodbye. The fastest is up.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.